LA is burning. Thousands are displaced. Entire neighborhood of Palisade is gone, and the worst may still be ahead. In just 1 week, the fires have claimed 24 lives, left 16 people missing, and destroyed over 12,000 structures. More than 40,000 acres have been scorched, and firefighters have only managed to contain 11% of the blaze. Strong Santa Ana winds, forecast to reach 70 miles per hour, threaten to fan the flames further, making this one of the worst fires in LA history, with damages estimated to be $150 billion. Neighborhoods like Palisades are unrecognizable. My thoughts and prayers go out to everyone affected. For thousands of families, this is a life changing tragedy. Many are uninsured or underinsured, scrambling to find answers. There is no official cause of fire yet. Everything is still under investigation. But regardless, ultimately, everything will always be pointing to the California government for answers. Why critical wildfire prevention budget were slashed, fire hydrants failed, poor forest management, and lack of strong leadership in critical time like that are some of the many questions people are asking. Meanwhile, people are going through tough times and uncertainty. Lots of people have reached out to me with emails with lots of questions about what's going to happen. I hear your concern and I share your frustration. While I can't fix politics in California, I can certainly help answer some of the pressing questions weighing on your mind right now. Questions about real estate, insurance, evacuation, and what this means for the future. So let's dive into some of these burning questions right now. So a lot of people's immediate question is, how do I know if I am being covered for my damages in events like this by insurance company? So guys, I know a lot of you, including me, we buy insurance, but we don't look at it at all. So we don't know exactly what the coverages are. Well, hopefully this time people could take the opportunity to actually study their policies and know exactly what they're paying for. And I want you to look at your insurance policy and go find the declaration page and look for the following information. I have the notes. The first is the dwelling coverage. This covers the cost of rebuilding your property. And there's a limit. You got to know what that limit is. And personal property, which is covering the loss of all your belongings inside the house. Furniture, electronics, jewelries. There's a limit typically. I know that for jewelries, the typical limit, the maximum is $5,000 or less. Personal items, $1,000 or less. How much is your limit? You got to know that. And loss of use. Obviously, if your property is burned down, you can't live in there. You got to live somewhere else. In the meantime, there's a cost of rentals and hotels. Is that being covered? You got to go find the loss of use. And exclusions, anything that is not covered, you need to know that. And it's really important. Now, in order for insurance company to pay you, you got to make it easy for them to know what do you have to begin with. So I suggest that you film your property, the inside and the outside and all your belongings once a year and send that video recording to your email. And I suggest that you put your face in that video too, at least part of the video, so you can prove that's you and your house and what time and when that this is being recorded. And this will be a great proof that you can show to the insurance company, like, look, I have all this stuff. So I suggest you do that once a year just to keep the record of your inventory. And the date of loss, that's the day the loss occurred to you. And you got to be able to prove that. And in situations like this fire, obviously the evacuation order date, the fire department's record are going to be something that you should be able to have access to prove. And if you have any question regarding to your policy, you should always contact your insurance agent, and they should be able to answer everything for you and get things clarified. And I suggest everybody do that at least once a year to review your homeowner's policy. A second question is, what's going to happen to the real estate market in Palisade and LA? So, obviously right now, real estate transactions are being on hold in the area, and people are moving to nearby cities, neighborhoods, which is unaffected by fire. People need a place to live, need a place to stay for the meantime. So this could potentially increase the nearby city's housing market, both the rentals and the housing. Like we saw similar things happen in 2018's Butte County, a campfire in Northern California, where the residents in Paradise, California, were moving into nearby metros like Chico and Oroville. That did temporarily increase the demands in those areas. But over time, the market in Chico and Oroville will get stabilized as the displaced people eventually find their permanent situation. And I would say the same pattern will probably occur this time here in this LA fire. And for a short period of time, yes, the nearby cities could see, a certain part of the nearby cities could see a surge in rental demand and housing demand. But in the long term, it's going to stabilize. And I know some of you are probably thinking, hey, what if I buy a home right now in one of these nearby cities and I can get higher rental returns, right? Well, I mean, if that's what you're thinking, you should have already bought something way before the fire even occurred. If you want to do it now, I think it's too late. So you'll be disappointed. In the long run, Palisade will definitely be rebuilt because, after all, it's a great location, a great place to be. People love it there, and it's one of the richest neighborhoods in the country. We just don't know what it will look like after the rebuild. I would imagine some of the land will be picked up by investors, developers, pennies on the dollar, because some people are probably not going to be able to afford to come back, and they'll probably end up selling that land to developers, which could possibly turn into multifamily housing or affordable housing, condo buildings. We'll have to see what the city's future zoning plan is. And some of these other neighborhoods with $10 million, $20 million mansions are going to be rebuilt with new ones, with the fire-proofing technologies, with steel framing, ICF walls, metal roofs, and and I would imagine the building code could change moving forward, meaning that all the buildings without these fireproofing technologies are going to be hard to get insurance on. This could make the building costs more expensive, and therefore making the home costs more. And the real estate market in the future of Palisade could be more expensive than it is now. Um, and but this process would take a while, at least 10 years, I would say, or unless the government finds a way to speed up the process. But in the long run, after the rebuild, I would say the real estate market in Palisade, it's not going to dip. It's going to be perhaps even more. And we see similar things happen in Paradise, California. In 2018, before the fire, the median home price there was only about 200 something, $250,000. Now, even though the town had 20,000 people and now there's only 5,000 people in Paradise, a bunch of houses are being rebuilt. I see that the median home price there have already gone up more than $250,000. So I say in the future, Palisade's real estate market is not going to be affected by this fire. In fact, it's going to come back with all these like new modern technologies, brand new mansions, fireproofing technologies, and it's going to make the properties there even more expensive. The next question is, should I buy a house in a fire hazard area? If you're asking me, for now, given what's going on, the situation and the insurance crisis that's potentially going to happen, I would say, me personally, it's a no. But again, people do live in fire hazard area, and a lot of these homes are up in the mountains, and it also offers a lot of great benefits in a lot of these neighborhoods. I do have another video in my channel that talks about, what you can do to make your home more fire resistant and the evacuations and all that kind of stuff. So definitely check out that video in my channel. But for now, I would say, if you can, stay away from fire hazard areas until things have settled down and the state figure out what the insurance situation is going to be. But for now, I say stay away if you can. The next question is about insurance companies. What if they don't have money to pay for the damage? What if they all go bankrupt? So that's a good question. Like right now, the damage is estimated to be $150 billion, and it's ongoing. So we don't know what the total damage would eventually be. And even though some people don't have insurance, but I would still imagine the total insured damage would still be perhaps $100 billion. That's a lot of money. And the typical system of insurance company is that, first of all, insurance companies are required to have more reserve and before they can take on liabilities. I believe it's like $3 in reserve for $1 liability. So they typically should have more money in reserve than banks. Number two, they have reinsurance companies. Big companies like Lloyd's of London and stuff, they would typically step in and help out these insurance companies if they don't have the money to pay. And thirdly, there are state funded programs and federally funded programs that would, step in and help out with some of these liabilities. So with the current systems, let's take a look at what happened, in the last two big disasters. The first one is September 11th, and the second one is Katrina. Now, September 11th, as you know, 3,000 people lost their lives, probably more, but 3,000 people got their life insurance payout, and about $50 billion in property damage that were paid by the insurance company, and about 60 to 70% were actually covered by a reinsurance company like Lloyd's of London. And so in this case, it's the reinsurance company that saved the day. Otherwise, the property casualty companies couldn't have enough money to pay from their pocket. And Katrina, on the other hand, a lot of people didn't have the flood insurance. And the flood insurance was by national flood insurance programs. That was a federal government bailout. So they step in and bail out the program, and that's why the flood insurance still owe the federal, I believe, $16 billion. So in the case of Katrina, it's the government, federal government stepping in that saved the day. But in either way, the process is going to be longer, and it's going to take more phone calls. It's going to take the consumers staying on their cases. And in this case, LA fire, I would imagine that the reinsurance companies will probably get involved. They definitely would if the insurance companies don't have enough money. And if the things gets worse, too many victims, too many damages, and the federal government or the state government are going to step in and do something. So either way, it's not going to be straightforward. It's going to take time, and but I'm hopeful that things will be done. So if you have policies, you're covered, but the insurance company, you're suspecting that they may not have enough money or couldn't afford to pay. I say don't lose hope, and just stay on this case, and you should be okay. Just make sure you file your claim and have all the proof, date of loss, and everything, and start communicating with your insurance agent and be on top of things. Now, this question is it possible that no more insurance companies will cover California? Well, that is highly unlikely. We know that a lot of big insurance companies are leaving California because it's too much politics, too risky, and all that. But in a free market, if there's demand, there's going to be supply. So big company leaving, it's going to create rooms for smaller insurance companies to enter the market for the right premium, for the right price. There's always going to be companies that would take on these risks for the kind of business that they want to have. But I would also imagine that going forward, like I said, in some of these fire-prone areas, maybe they're going to change the building code. Maybe we really get the technology down. We got these fireproof materials, and that might become a prerequisite of having those type of insurance, or a prerequisite of having cheap fire insurance. Because the technology has gotten better. And that's one thing. And the next thing is, There's going to be some kind of new insurance models, maybe catastrophe bonds or parametric insurance rather than the traditional insurance where they pay you by the actual damage. And all these things can exist. So I would say do not worry. There will always be insurance being provided to California homeowners because once there's a demand, there's always going to be a supply. The next question is, how do I evacuate safely and be prepared in advance? So here's the thing, you know, people that live in disaster-prone areas, fire, flood, earthquake, or whatnot, they should always design a evacuation plan and practice and drill on a regular basis. Don't wait until when disaster happens. The biggest problem is people get panicked during those difficult times and forget about what they were taught to do. So you got to come up with a evacuation plan, know where to go, know all the roads, and worst case scenario, best case scenario, what if your family has elderlies or disabled person? What's the best way to get them off the property? And another important thing is have great relationship with your neighbors because trust me, in a time of needs, you're going to help out your neighbor and they're going to help you out. That's why in a lot of these communities where disasters frequent, it's a very close knit communities. People know each other. People treat each other like families. And in fact, a lot of home buyers, when they're looking to buy a home, does this neighborhood has the community feel is one of the most important criteria for a lot of these buyers for reasons perhaps like that, and during the evacuations, make sure you know where to shut off your gas main, your water main. If you don't know where those things are, you should go find them right now. Take all your valuables, your jewelries, your cash. If you have firearms, take them. If you have fine arts, take them if you can. If not, put them face down on the ground. Hopefully they don't get burned. And if you have exotic cars, know that it is hard to replace. So better take them with you. And you got to be able to stay proactive by drilling and practicing all these things on a daily basis, making sure your kids are not panicking, your partners are not panicking. And again, start making friends with your neighbors if you haven't already. Because, in the time of needs, everybody come together and help each other out. And remember, like I mentioned before, you should already have filmed all your belongings, like from the previous questions. So during evacuations, you may not even have time to do that. So it is important to be prepared on a regular basis. All right, so we've covered a lot today, from insurance challenges to evacuation tips to the future of real estate in fire-prone areas. And these fires are a reminder of how quickly life could change and how crucial it is to be prepared and informed and be proactive. If you're in a position to help, please consider donating to support these affected by the fires. Organizations like Red Cross, California Community Foundation's Wildfire Relief Fund, and Direct Relief are doing incredible work to provide immediate aid and long-term support for the victims. I'll leave the links to these trustworthy organizations in the description of this video. Every little bit helps. So if you have any questions or concern that I didn't address, please don't hesitate to reach out in a comment or email me directly. I'll do my best to help where I can. And if you found this video helpful, please give it a like. It really helps others to find this information, especially those who might be directly affected by the fires. And don't forget to subscribe for more updates and insights, whether it's about real estate, disaster preparedness, or the late market trends. Hit the bell icon so you don't miss any future videos from me. And once again, my thoughts and prayers goes out to everyone impacted by these fires. Stay safe, take care of each other, and I'll see you on the next one.